Christopher Casamento, Christopher Casamento. So I date Gus's daughter. Gus is the owner, and I'm an electrician.
Okay, my name is Andy, A-N-D-Y, Andrews, A-N-D-R-E-W-S. So I'm the general manager of Ghost City Tours, which is right next door. And I've been an investigator for roughly about 36 years. So Gettysburg's always been somewhere, and then the job brought me here. Soon after that, I became good friends with Gus and Hillary that own the inn. So I've had not full access all the time, but we do have a lot of times that we're allowed to come in, and also just having experiences setting outside. So the other people that have had experiences with me has been actually the owner of Ghost City. We did a investigation here about this time last year. Also co-workers of mine, Gus and I have been sitting outside, which is one of the owners, and have had experiences. So what comes to mind first on experiences here? Being right next door, we have a lot of people that stay here that'll come over and tell me stories quite a bit, what they're having experiences. And we had a gentleman there not long ago, came in and was talking with Hillary and Gus, and then they kind of sent him over to us to talk about it. But the gentleman was here with his wife, and they were on vacation, and early in the morning, he wakes up, what he thought was his dog licking his hand and kind of rubbing up against it. And then he realized that he was not at home, so they didn't have the dog. And from that point, he said that he kind of sat up and looked over at his wife, and the only thing he could describe it as is that it looked like a ferret or a squirrel, something like that, maybe a cat laying next to her, and it took off and went in behind the dresser. And there was nothing that would show that there was a space big enough or anything like that. They have no issues here with any kind of, stuff like that. So that guy was pretty freaked out because he saw, he was dead set, and we actually use that on one of our tours. We talk about that, just trying to make some kind of sense of it. But other people have talked about experiences with kind of the same thing here. And, but that was one that I kind of heard, right out of the horse's mouth practically. So,
because I date Gus's daughter, Gus asked me to occasionally, check on things electrically at the inn so he doesn't have to pay for an electrician, since I'm in the family. And I went into the basement where the main service panel is for the main house, and I took the cover off the panel and the dead front. And as I was working in the electricity in the panel, I felt like something had grabbed my shoulders and shoved me into the panel. There was no way that someone could physically even stand behind me. There's just not enough room to fit. I'm basically pressed up against the panel as it is, being with my back against the staircase.
I was actually sitting outside one night. We have a little area that's right outside in between our store and the inn, and knew nobody was really here. I think they had guests in the back building. Myself and a coworker, we looked up and saw a woman standing in the top window. She was dressed in a very much period clothing, but it was the look that she had, like looking, there's a tree right outside, and she was looking like dead center of the tree, and no matter what we did to try to get her attention, like waving, stuff like that, never took away from that stare. She just kept staring. Come to find out, there was only one family that was actually in the back building that night, so there shouldn't have been anybody here in the front. Like, her head turned, that was something that was really weird for me, was the way she was kind of moving. Like, it was almost like she was on a pivot. And we both looked up, but there was no lighting behind her, like the room wasn't lit up. And it was probably about 8 o'clock in the evening, so it was dark out. And we both just, the feeling, just getting that feeling that's not right. That's something that shouldn't be there. There's been other reports where people have seen a woman up there, and I was talking to a gentleman that saw the same thing one night, and this was months later, And before I gave him my explanation of what I saw and how she was reacting or not reacting, he was talking the same thing about how she was just standing there, just staring off into nothing. And that was pretty crazy. That one, because we saw her for 10 minutes probably.
So months later, a medium had come and another paranormal team had done an investigation. And the medium was just conversating with me normally, not about anything paranormal or anything. And she cut me off mid-sentence and said that there was a little boy here that had a message to deliver to me, and that he lived at the inn, and that the things that are here at the inn are afraid of me and do not like that I come here and mess with the energy. The only thing I can chalk that up to is that, spirits give off energy, and electricity is obviously energy. So I feel like when I come in here and I'm messing with energy, they can sense that and feel that, and maybe they are intimidated or feel threatened by that. And so they just don't like me messing with anything whenever I come here to turn circuits off, or whenever I'm performing work here. They aren't familiar with me. I'm not here enough. I only come like a couple times a year just to check on things.
One of the guys that works with me, he and I were down in the basement, and one of the gentlemen, he is very skeptical and paranormal. But that night we were sitting there, and I tried to do some, communication by talking to anyone that maybe that had been buried, or not buried, but had been kept here after, they were shot or killed at the battle.
Apparently there were bodies, there was amputations, I guess. There was a makeshift hospital, which would not have been uncommon for that time right after the Battle of Gettysburg.
And we started having some of the equipment go off. And then the gentleman with the camera in front of me said that somebody literally lifted his hoodie. And I'm watching him and saw that happen, but just thought he had moved. And I believe that he become somewhat of a believer after that one.
I don't feel threatened, but I don't come here by myself because, I feel like the spirits aren't familiar enough with me. And, I don't want to get myself in a situation where, something potentially could happen,
The uniqueness of Gettysburg with the paranormal, it's not only the most people killed in a battle, here, but I can't imagine with everything about me, like if I was on Pickett's charge or something like that, everything from emotional state to your blood pressure going through the roof, like everything about you is just on the max. And then within 1 second, you can be dead, like all of it just gone. And I think that has to put like an imprint somewhere. I think that energy stays, and the fact that people are here all the time as well and kind of keeping the history alive. So that kind of puts energy back in. But I definitely think with any kind of haunting or paranormal that a lot of times it's something that's happened, that's pretty significant, I guess is the easiest way to say it. Like, so many people died like that. They also were some of them were tossed into holes, dozens just tossed in. And, so, all that energy, it has to stay. There's no way. It has to leave an imprint. I think it's what we have here. I think just the significance of all the people that died, just the emotional stuff that even the townspeople went through when that happened. Also, you're looking at months and months and months after the battle that they were still finding people. Then they had to go back and dig them up. I guess is the easiest way to say it. And reading on the Danners here, I read part of her journal, and she was definitely affected the rest of her life by what she walked into. They fled out of here the first day they ran out of here and went out of town, and then came back to find, you know, as she explained it, it was bodies stacked chest high, is what she said in here. And that affected her tremendously the rest of her life. So, I mean, with that much energy put into everything, I mean, that's why I think we have these experiences here. And I just think it's people, energy left over from people that's went through something that was so horrible, or devastating, I guess you could say, that, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's why we do it. It's kind of, yeah.
Oh, I believe in it. I've been visited by family members, you know, so I definitely believe in ghosts.
So the equipment that I'm going to try to use tonight to help out is it's an application that's called Phasma Box, and it's a spirit communicator, I guess is what we could call it. I've used that, the different versions they've had over the years, and have came to trust it. I know some people don't, but when you get answers that kind of, you know, hit spot on with the history of the place or the claims, you start to think that it had something to this. So yeah, we'll be running that.